Hello, everyone. How are you? I'm Wendy Myers of MyersDetox.com. Thank you so much for joining me for today's masterclass on how to EMF proof your home. And we're going to be talking with James Gorin. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you want to scoot over a little bit? Yeah, perfect. So now you're set. Perfect. You're kind of off to the side. Yeah, well, James, I wanted you to come on because you are an electrical engineer and you are so knowledgeable about EMF or electromagnetic fields. And so I wanted to do this webinar with you because, I'm just concerned that so many people are having health issues, fatigue, brain fog, pain, even lowered immunity, which makes them more susceptible to the virus that's going on or going around right now. And so it's really imperative that people start learning more about EMF and how to protect themselves. And so can you tell us a little bit about, what EMFs are exactly for anyone who's not familiar with them?
Yeah, so EMFs are all around us. It stands for electromagnetic fields or electromagnetic frequencies going off. So this is from all kinds of things, not just electronics or electricity items. It's also noise that runs through the air. Chemical pollutants actually become interactive with molecules in the air and your environment. So EMF is all around us, but here's the thing. Our bodies actually run on EMFs, but we have good EMFs. Ours are signals that go off in the brain and talk to all the cells and tissues in the body, all the organs, with coded keys. So these are packets of code, and each one goes to one particular cell, one particular organ or tissue type. So when the brain pulses through, like ringing the doorbell, checking on things, anybody in need will pulse back because they'll be sensitized with their key, and they'll know, oh, if I need anything, now's the time. And somebody just rang the bell. So this is how the body has worked since ever. I mean, it's how we're made, how even plants work like this. And what gets interesting is what they call the quantum field. The quantum field is more of an unknown thing, too scientific for a lot of people. But basically, it's more coded keys in frequencies, but they run in smaller components. They're the in-between space that actually, well, here's the thing, it's science substantiated. We know that when you scratch your nose, your feet and the tissues down on the lower feet, the whole body, they all felt it, they all know it. And that's through the quantum communication. And they're finding that certain things set it off and make it flow. That's the communication factor. Just like the brain runs every 20 milliseconds a burst of every single code to pulse through and see what things need to be attended to. Mm-hmm. So that's what I learned when I was in biomedical engineering.
Yes, great. That's fantastic. Yeah, and so we're just surrounded by all of this EMF, the wireless internet, our computers, our cell phone, all these satellites going up. I mean, people may not be aware of this. They're talking about all these 5G towers going up everywhere, especially in the larger cities. But there's 60 5G satellites going up every single month into our atmosphere and are going to be raining down, really high frequency fields to our bodies. And there's going to be 20,000 by the year 2022. People need to know about this and how to protect themselves. And so we're already surrounded by a lot of different EMF. What kind of symptoms could someone expect to be experiencing? And also be aware that there's a spectrum of sensitivity. Some people won't feel it at all. And some people are so sensitive they can't even be near a computer. So, and just because you can't feel it doesn't mean it isn't impacting you. So we just want to bring some awareness to some of the symptoms you could possibly be experiencing that you might not be attributing to EMF.
Right. You're spot on. That's exactly it. EMFs, the bad kind, are caused from all of our technology. It began really way back in the 1700s. But by the time we hit the 1800s and getting towards the 1900s, just having machinery and big motors and windings and factories making fabrics and shoes and leather, and it began. My grandparents worked in that world, and they were beat up. And my grandfather got leukemia from working in one of those factories. He feels it was from that. It probably was. And the reason why I feel that was the reason is because back in 1980, I worked on this thing. This is a neural stimulator that puts static in, like, cell phones have EMF, your electronics. This is dirty electricity. It's actually like when you rub a balloon on your belly and your hair stands up, you now have EMF all over your whole body. Every single cell is like static going off, and it does disrupt the communication in and out of the cells. So when it happens all over the whole body, it's really not good. Of course, it's being dissipated. It's not a huge amount of spark. On this, we added a little extra spark. We went up from the level of where the brain runs, and that's in the micro Tesla. So that's 1,000,000 times smaller than a single 1-volt battery, all right? Here we went up to 1,000th of 1 volt, and that was enough to block all the signals in the brain going up the brainstem into the body, shutting off pain. People in wheelchairs whose spinal column was intact, terrible car accidents, we just put this in. It was like a pacemaker up the dura into the spinal column, flip the switch, and they could just get up out of the chair and walk around for about 2 hours. They'd have their life back. I mean, they could go shopping, drive a car, but they had to get back in that chair after 2.5, 3 hours. When you cut off all communication to a cell or a tissue group, nothing in, nothing out. And after 2 or 3 hours, you're getting in trouble. By 4 or 5 hours, we saw that it was dangerous. It would kill a person. The brainstem starts to melt, and the tissues, they start dying off. So now we have technology where we have static all over our cells, just it's all over. And the problem is areas that get loaded up and start to dysfunction, their voltage drop. You see, every cell in the body is like a little battery. That's how we stay charged up. And our happiness charges us up more, by the way. And I'll go over that later. Each cell needs to be in the adult range of health over 70 millivolts per cell, like a little battery. And it's measurable. This is all science substantiated. This is where you can Google it, and you can look online and research facilities and scientific groups. They do this day in and day out and publish everything. I've looked through publications just because I love it. I'm actually a retired biomedical engineer. Always learning more and more as the studies are being revealed and finished and published.
Yeah, and there's so much research on EMF. There's so much research on the body's energy field or the biofield, and research on 5G. I mean, there's new stuff coming out every single day. It's probably impossible to keep up.
Right. It's true. There's 100,000, 200,000 publications when we Google.
And a lot showing the harm of non-native EMFs that are not native to our body's energy field, to our body.
Correct. Most, it's kind of like this. If you have a beautiful wall and you start hitting it with a hammer, very high powered EMF or very high frequency, when you have those two components, that's really not good. It just hammers away at the cell walls, and it does damage. And this is, of course, substantiated out there. And there's a lot of politics involved in this. They don't want to scare the public. They know that here's the reason. Humans adapt over a long period of time. And little by little, our bodies are always working and fixing and trying to adjust and change. And they're just feeling really, in the world's realm, they're figuring that many of us will adapt and continue on and become healthier and healthier. And we'll use our tools and our electronics and our medicine. But new age medicine now is entering the field. But all of these things will allow the body to readapt and actually utilize the bad EMF. And we've been playing with that in the lab just to get it substantiated out.
Yeah. Yeah. And so can you talk about, what was that?
It can be done. It's a matter of talking to the cells.
Yes.
And having a field like a bubble inside of an area, or running electromagnetic therapy, but it has to be very specific. The level of the brain, no bigger. And when you do that, you're energizing the cells, putting them in resonance, so they're opening up and looking around. What can I do? I've got some energy, and they actually build up energy. So I personally do one of those. It runs twice a night while I'm sleeping, although at night, when I come in to go to bed, I'll push the button, and it's beautiful. You feel like you just melt into the bed, and you're gone. Really
Nice.
deep rested sleep.
And what device is that?
That's the Pure Wave system, the PEMI. It's called a PEMI, P-E-M-I.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Yeah, well, we'll talk more about solutions here in a second. And so let's talk about the symptoms again. So there's a whole range of symptoms that someone could be having. I want to help people make that connection between perhaps some of their symptoms and what they think might be, oh, I'm just getting older, or maybe I have this diagnosis, I have autoimmune, or, you know, a lot of these symptoms that people have may not be connected to what they think is causing it.
Yeah, you don't always have to know or find out what the cause is of your symptoms. We know that everything in the body runs on voltage. That's the whole deal. That's the number one. When voltage is high in all the different tissues and cells, as it is in children, I run around measuring people using just a tri-field meter. And we call it the James test. So we just hold it up like this, and it shows how much voltage in millivolts I've got of EMF that's staying around my area, in my tissues. How much is there? It's not sticking to the body, but there's EMF from all over, you know, and it'll be from computers and even the lights, wall sockets, everything that runs on power. The more EMF, the higher it would normally be around this area, just kind of staticky, right? Kind of like a fizzy or an Alka-Seltzer tablet. I'll play with one of those after. I'll show you. That's really what it is. EMF is like static all around the cells, and it's remaining in the area of the body and the wetness, the tissue. You know, it's attracted into the water. We are mostly water. So with EMF all in the body, on this meter, you want to be below 10 millivolts. And that was a statement by the World Health saying that 10 millivolts coming out of anything in your vicinity, in your area where you hang out, where you spend time, should be the maximum that a human needs to keep the cells running healthy without getting the static interference. It's not like, you know, scientists can't just take a look. We can see the static.
Yeah.
We can measure it.
Yeah.
So,
and, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So I want to help people kind of, you know what some of the symptoms are of EMF. So I'll just kind of list some off. So you can have fatigue, you can have brain fog, you can have immunity issues where you're getting sick frequently, where you're having chronic infections that you can't get rid of, because EMF irritates infections, pathogens, and makes them replicate much, much faster. You can also have pain and pain syndromes. You can have headaches. You can have trouble sleeping. You can have just general malaise where you just don't feel well. Any other symptoms I'm missing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all about circulation.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can get that to switch. There we go. So all of those symptoms that you mentioned, and I know there can be a list of 150 different symptoms,
Yeah.
and they're horrible. They're troublesome to your life, especially just having one, let alone a lot of people have multiple lists. When the cells aren't getting enough energy, or they're constantly being covered in this static, it is called radiation. Well, what happens is all the functioning of the different parts of your body, the whole biologic aspect starts to fail, slowly do a lousy job. It's not getting the right communication. It's not getting the right uptake of minerals and nutrients. It's not detoxing and cleaning cells out like we are supposed to do this night and day, 24/7, our entire lives. And the better we do that job in every cell, you can really look back and say it's because the cell voltage was very high if the output and the product or the work was very high quality. And same thing with cellular replacement. When we have heavy metals, pollutants, chemicals, that brings the voltage down in the cells. They don't do a great job. They've got like anchors inside the cells, just messing up the chemical process. And from chemical, you go into communication. You create electromagnetic signals to talk back up through the body, but also when you're sending off these electromagnetic signals, you've also triggered the photoelectric signals, or photonic. This is communication in the light frequency range, which we do that now, like for computers and things we need, special high-tech communication. We send it in very high frequencies of light. So you have to understand, without being a scientist, low frequency is getting in the very beginning of the pulse of the earth. The earth actually breathes, so you could kind of call it that. And it does have a pulse, and our brains know it, even though it's very small, smaller than 1,000,000 times smaller than a 1-volt battery. But it's there, and you can read it on a meter, and it's online. You can look at it daily. It's always in a very small slot for the bulk of the day, but every now and then it peaks up and down, and it goes much higher and then comes back down. And every day it changes through the day and wherever you are in the earth. But the important part of it is it makes the brain sync, kind of like music, like a metronome. Our brain is doing this, click, 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 right? Only really fast. And it's putting all of the projects and the orders in place of communication that it sends out based on the metronome, the music. And it really is, it's music. It's what the brain runs on. And you can't hear it because it's so small, and it's in 3D, it's electromagnetic. So it's electric component, and then it has magnetic, right, out both sides. And the electric is the amount of power. The magnetics is the field caused from the electrons running through, the electricity. And then you have the voltage. So you have your intensity and the speed. When you add in the frequency, now you're talking, that's how a Wi-Fi works. That's how our Bluetooths work. Oh, and by the way, you know the little AirPods? Like, you know, the new ones, right? They're really cool and they work great. They sound great. They interact with your phone like almost automatically, especially if you're playing, you know, music or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't have EMF. There's nothing there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they used to be dirty. They used to pick up a lot and give you EMF right in the ear, like you were holding a cell phone to your head for the whole time you were playing music. Not anymore.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I thought they were all bad. That's a really good tip.
Yeah. From about last year on. Everything keeps getting improved, even your computers. I've got videotapes that'll be on the buzzman.com just to teach people and show them how to stay away from different parts of your house, but how to so easily, so inexpensively just do it yourself. I carry it around. I walk around with this. But I show in electrical engineering terms how to make it really simple for the layman. Yeah. And how to know what's bad and what isn't, and where you can sit and where you shouldn't sit. And recently I found, just going around our house and doing these little short video clips, they'll all be up there. We showed, okay, my favorite spot is the espresso maker. We make an espresso in the morning. And
I could use one of those right now.
Usually in the afternoon. I'm getting close to dinner.
Yeah.
So anyway, putting this meter up to it while it's plugged in but turned off, you're supposed to be below 10 millivolts. This was 400.
Oof.
Yeah, and even 500 if I got, you know, in and around there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well, it's interesting, you know, and this is what I want people to be aware of is that when you're people think of like their wireless internet and you know their cell phone they need to protect themselves from, but there's some crazy exposures around your house. Like you might have a TV on that has the Bluetooth going and emit this huge amount of EMF that you're not even using. It's just kind of maybe on. You're not even watching it, but every time you walk by it, you're getting this big, you're zapped by this Wi-Fi. You're getting Wi-Fi'd. Yes.
older TVs, the newer ones, they're much cleaner. I show videos, but I show one that was 3 years old, another one that's 5 years old. They were horrible.
Huh.
And computers too, like you can put this little meter right up against them. We're looking for 60 hertz EMF. That's what all of our power runs on. Even the transformers that plug in to supply the power to all of our electronics and appliances, everything's on transformers. So that's where the EMF starts. It begins right there. And parallel wires in the wall, I show that. I show the meters, the smart meters versus the old meters. The old ones weren't as dirty as I have to restate that. The older ones had less danger in them because they didn't have the communication in and out. So that's in very high frequency. But the older ones were much more dangerous if you were living right next to them because of the low end power, the 60 hertz, really high. Picture this, in every home, every business, all the power comes in, right, into the meter. And then it goes down underground or up over the ceiling and in the attic, and then down to the power box. Once it hits the power box, it breaks up into different breakers, and each breaker goes off to 5 outlets there, in the kitchen there, and the fridge and the oven, and ovens, really high power. So right where that power comes in, it's always flowing. Your AC is on, your heating's on, your fridge is on. All this stuff never shuts off. You've got huge EMF. You could take this little meter and walk all around to the back where you see your power meter and hold it up there. The new one will show high also, but it's not the meter doing it. It's the power coming into the system to be measured and then go back down and off to the power box.
Oh, interesting.
One is not so bad, except at my house that I know of. Now, all of you have to check your own. Our son hadn't slept in 3 years, and he was 18, 19, 20, and now he's 21. And we started getting into, hey, let's really check out everywhere we live and try to heal and cure every single thing. We did this beginning last year, so we've spent a whole year on it now in the lab and making all of our test gear and everything. We found that his bed was right up against the wall. His headboard was right here, right? And right on the other side was the power meter. And it's a smart meter. Now, with one on there, over here was clean, and over there was 400, 500 millivolts. And when we pulled it back from there, sure enough, we pulled back about 2 or 3 feet, where it would get him all the way to here while he's sleeping. He's in 200 or 300 millivolts all night long, every night for his whole life until we found it. Yeah. So these are the things I want to teach people. It has changed his world. I mean, I got goosebumps. I feel like we saved his life. He was just going down, and he was a young guy. It's like he was becoming old. All of his cells were dysfunctioning. He was miserable. We couldn't get him to use our night, the electromagnetics to charge up the energy in the cells. He's a teenager basically, so you know how that goes.
Yeah. And I had a client of mine, or not a client, but I had a colleague of mine that had 2 clients that had a smart meter in the wall of the head of their bed where their heads were all night long for years. They both had brain tumors from that. Yeah. You don't know if it's exactly from that. Companies in the world don't want to take the fall for anything like that. And of course, even our governments, people in charge are supposed to
keeping us safe and healthy. Certain things, they just don't want to go down that alley and try to figure out, is it really hurting people that much? And the thing is, I started the whole beginning of this podcast with humans really do adapt. And in one lifetime, it doesn't have to go through generations like Darwin's theory there. It's, we really do adapt. It's our cells, our whole being. Have you ever noticed people who are either professional athletes, ball players generally, they have very high energy, they're always up. Whether they're happy or not, that's a psychological thing, but generally, they're healthy. And the reason is every day, morning, afternoon, and then early evenings, a professional will work out 2-3 times a day, and they don't work out a little, they work out a lot. And then they do their practice games, and then they do the pro games. And these guys are always into nutrition and sleep. Most of them set their clock for 8 hours sleep. The ones who have special machines like I do, man, we get better than that just by doing what we do. When you sleep deeply and quietly, and the whole autonomic nervous system has come down to just a whisper, this is where the body heals the most. And it's almost miraculous. It is. It looks to me, when I see things like this going on myself and my family, it's miraculous. I never thought the body could fix itself so efficiently and so quickly and so definite from day to day to day. When we get an injury, we just run our things, our special machines.
Yeah, so let's just talk about that for a second, because you have a mat. It's called a pure wave mat. And I love this thing, and I wanted to talk about it because there is, a lot of exposures that we have in our home and for EMF, and, we have to have the electricity on. We have to use our computers. People are not going to toss their cell phones unless they're really diehard. The EMF exposure is going to continue to increase. China's already working on 6G. I mean, forget 5G. And there's going to be 7G. It's just going to keep going, folks. So we have to figure out how to protect ourselves. And you can't always shield yourself from all of this because these satellites are coming. So you're going to have to. So that's what I like about this solution, is that you can't protect yourself from everything. It's only going to increase. You've got to have something to kind of like charge yourself or like dissipate all this EMF off of your body. So let's talk about this solution that you have. There's a lot of questions we're going to answer. You guys have tons of questions and comments. We're going to get to all of those. Don't worry, and give you links, everything you guys need. But talk to us about your mat. It's called a pure wave mat.
Okay, so I met my wife not too long ago. That was 6 years ago, and I had a very good year. I've lived with a disease my whole life, my grandmother's disease. Plus, I had chronic asthma from being I'm a biomedical engineer, an electrical engineer, and I was an organic chemist. And in one of my big jobs in the beginning of chemistry, I burnt my lungs. So I had chronic asthma, occupational asthma. On an X-ray, my lungs looked like a snowstorm. They got worse and worse as I went like 10, 20 years older. I was on steroid spray for 30 years, twice a day. I couldn't get out of bed unless I leaned over to my night table and did a spray. I'd have to wait about a minute or two, and then I could get up and start my day, and I'd have a day. So I was thankful, but it was hurting my tissues. I got hardening of the arteries. I mean, that's for super old people, is how I always thought that was supposed to be. But I had it from a young age. And scaling, which was, plaque inside the arteries. So I lost elasticity. I had very low pressure in the bottom of the heart, and my heart ran backwards for about 15 years, inverted T waves. See, as you get older, these tissues aren't getting enough blood delivery. They're not getting enough oxygen. They're not getting their nutrients, because once they're not getting their oxygen, it's over. Your voltage drops. So I've got tissues in here and the lungs that just got scar tissue damage, all kinds of anomalies. And I knew how to kind of keep it up where where I would have periods where I'd be pretty physically fit, appearing on the outside. I just couldn't run and other things. But I never really lifted weights or worked out, and a little bit bicycle. That was about it. So anyway, and coming down to meeting Tony, she was in the medical field. She worked for her a couple of scientists in big companies and set up products properly in the US. And she was always finding the latest and greatest things. So when I met her, she was really intriguing right off the get-go. So after about a year, my disease started coming back. So this is big fibroids. It looks like, I don't know, it's like a block of wood, like that big around, like that, in the bottom of the feet, in the calves, the forearms, the hands. I started getting lumps. I had them operated, removed. That doesn't work. If they did it to the feet, I would have been in big trouble. It didn't have good outcome. They stopped doing that pretty much. And anyway, so Tony said, look, we're going to try things. We'll start with nutrition. That's what everybody does. Start with yoga, do Tai Chi. Tai Chi I love. It really does help. It helps bring in oxygen. It helps charge up the energy in your body, and you feel your energy. It's cool. It's like frequencies going off inside you. Because of the slow motion. I don't know how that works. I just know how it feels. So anyway, and then there were plenty of times I couldn't do Tai Chi. I couldn't really move around. I started to become quite disabled. And on and off I had been in my lifetime. So when I met Tony, she started having me try different things, her different products that she worked for this company and that one, and new products coming, and she'll get a hold of them. And she fixed up people with new technologies, and if it worked or it's substantiated out, that was a blessing. So she's always looking for science substantiated product, and no considerations to anything else. So there I was, a scientist, and we went ahead and we tried a few things, and one day we came upon this phone call from somebody that Tony worked for. They're coming back. They're going to be in Chicago. Let's fly up and try it. And she flew me up there, and I needed a wheelchair to get through the airport. I said, you understand what it is right now for me? I mean, I come and go. Maybe I'll slowly get better in a month or two. And she said, no, I'm going to push you through the airport, and then we'll get the Uber and we'll figure it out. We'll get you over to the conference, and you're going to try this thing, I'm telling you. So I said, well, let me see, what is this thing? I looked online. My God, they had real publications in Europe, and the studies were done in universities around the world, including many of them in the US. And then I started reading what it was doing. They only have 2 patents. It's pretty straightforward. They remove EMF radiation from the body and the cells and the surrounding area. Then they can inject or induce the signals, the frequency electromagnetic waveforms, to talk to all the cells, mimic the brain. So I guess they copied the brain. But their patent is that they remove EMF from the body and surrounding areas, and they turn on the ion pumps, or the ionic resonance. This is where, when a cell either receives a whole bunch of oxygen around it as a delivery, or it's wanting a delivery, it will open up receptor walls and turn on its ion pumps, and it draws in the oxygen and the nutrients, and then it blows out the waste and processes the garbage chute, basically. So out the other receptors, you're getting your poisons and detox and substances for waste all removed. In that process, the mitochondria keep building and building and building. They charge up. So cells really charge up during the day or night, and during workouts especially. That's what I was saying, the pro ball guys, oh my God, they're like children when I measure them. They're always on low EMF. It doesn't seem to be staying around their tissues or their bodies, and they're running low on the meter. When I go to children who are playing on the iPads all day long, or they're always the phone. Well, they're 10, 12, 16-year-olds for sure. My God, they pin the needle. It's horrible. So anyway, let's see. Hey, Wendy, where'd you go? You still there?
I hit the wrong button. Sorry about that. That happens.
You became a character.
Oh no. Yeah, so I don't see anyone's chat. Everyone's chat's disappeared. I'm so sorry about that, guys. So anyone, if you guys have questions, I don't know how this happened. Yeah, all the chats disappear. So if you just ask your question again, I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, we are right there.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So keep telling us about this, Matt.
Yeah, aging and disease are really just they're cells that are now running on much lower voltage.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line. Now, whether one causes the other or the other causes the one, who cares? That's where you're at, and it's substantiated and known, and you can watch the differences with your own eyes. When you can increase energy in cells, definite change happens right on the spot in one session. And then your body now for 8 or 12 hours with this one system, it remains energized and high. With other systems, they cause a lot of EMF. So after they're all done and the blood is separated and everything's in ionic resonance with very high oxygen and delivery, when they shut their machine off, the cells go back to being sticky, and reload is what they call it. I can show that actually. Right here. So this is where your blood cells are all nice and separated and energized. I can make that big. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So right there, they're nice, and that's full surrounding cells, spheres, full of oxygen. Over here, you've lost 50 to 60% of your oxygen. People have been living on this level oxygen starvation for 20 years. It began with wireless communication and Wi-Fi and everything. But Wi-Fi is different. Wi-Fi is it's very high frequency. So it generally doesn't go very far with a high amount of power. It's got high power, but only when you're right near the router. So we can show that with meters, that people don't have to worry so much about that. It's when you start realizing that everybody's got a Wi-Fi, and they really do blast out through houses and across open spaces into the next house and the next building. And when you have 100 of them around your neighborhood, they're all going off. And this is where we get into 5G. 5G now is ramping this up. 5G, should I talk about 5G? Okay.
Oh, please. Yes.
Yeah,
because a lot of people are making comments here about, EMF and coronavirus. And so, in your opinion, do you feel like 5G and EMF are contributing to this pandemic that's happening right now? That's the big $1 billion question right now.
It's really just common sense. When you're hammering away at your immune system, the health of your autonomic nervous system, and you're hitting it with very high frequencies, you're disrupting the process of all your body functions. So now instead of working at this level of excellence, right, they're coming down just from the frequencies. And then we go and get this virus. And some people come down a lot, some people less. It depends on the health of the person. And it's not so much the age. I found plenty of 40-year-olds that are way older than me. And they're really old people. And when I measure them, they pin the needle no matter what. And they're miserable. They're worn out. They're tired. They can't think. They lose their memory every step of the way. They just can't remember much at all. This is from too much, really. It's just total blockage and loss of voltage. Here, you know what? I can play this, and then we'll do 5G. Let's see if you can hear this. Let me see. Okay, got it going. I'll hold it up to the, yeah. It's trying to pick up somebody on Bluetooth. We don't want that. Oh, yeah. That one ran out of battery power.
Yeah.
What happened to
Of course.
It's rechargeable though, just like we are. See, that's the thing people don't know. You can really recharge your body just by going outside, taking a walk every day for 10 or 15 minutes. Recharges a lot of your body, the whole body, not just your legs or swinging your arms. It's everything. And then you can recharge your body with when you tickle them. Going on a swing, you know how it feels, right? So everybody, when they're a child, they love going on a swing. And what happens is, just in doing this motion and feeling the magnetic change in the earth, and because we really do feel it, and it's measurable, even just going on a swing from one spot to the other, walking through the grass, and feeling the gravity as well, all right, and gravity change, any kind of movement or resonance, your brain and all your cells start tapping in to this resonance, because it allows the cells to, with ease of requirement or zero effort, it allows them to go into harmonic balance and harmonic resonance. And when they do that, they just charge up like effortlessly. And when they charge up, they become healthy again. If they were very low, if they were just, down some, they refuel, they fill up over and over. So if you can do this to your whole body, and we can, just by doing the few things I just said, you go for a walk, you go in the grass, go to the beach. If you can walk along the edge of the water or the edge of a lake or a pond, the humidity coming off the water, it's like little sparklers. Their energy. It's crazy. They actually went from liquid to a gas, and they're holding higher energy, and you're walking around through it and breathing it, and it's going into your skin, and your cells are actually absorbing that energy.
Yeah, you're doing forest bathing. And what I'm doing right now, I'm doing ranch bathing. That's what I'm doing. But that's not enough today. Like today, that is not enough. Doing the earthing, going out in nature, because there's so many electromagnetic fields being bombarded on us. That isn't enough to like turn things around. And that's why I love the Pure Wave now, the Pure Wave mat. And you guys can check out the link here above this pinned comment. You guys want to learn more about it. But, we kind of got sidetracked, but tell us about your experience. So you had all these health issues, you suffered a lot of pain. What happened when you first started using the Pure Wave mat? And then tell us a little bit more about how the mat works exactly.
Yeah, we definitely got off track from that. I don't like to really talk about the past. The present and the future is so much better. Okay, I'll give you a quickie on the end then. So I went to the conference. They brought me over there in a golf cart all the way down the street to the convention center from the hotel, and then right up to the table, picked me up and put me on the table, and then they turned on the machine. And I'd already done the research on it, thought, God, if this thing really works, they're saying they're going to charge up the cells, and then they're going to go to work, and I'm going to feel different. And the thing that got me was the P word. I don't think any product that has no claims is allowed to even mention the P word, PAIN. But your body eliminates that. Your body eliminates its own pain when it gets energy. It's another reason why the ball players are all smiley, happy. They look fit. Their skin looks good. They're always robust. It's the energy. So anyway, they turned it on. It ran for 30 minutes. I didn't feel anything. It's invisible. It's just like the virus. And although there's machines that you can hear it going through your body, like a Geiger counter. It's pretty cool. And in 30 minutes, they told me get off and just stand up. And I'm like, no. I said, bring my special shoes over here, and I'll just feel them out, and I slide the chair over. I can go from this to that. I'll push myself over. They said, no, stand up. We'll hold you. I'm like, okay. So they held me, and then I'm like, hey, this is weird. I can feel the bottom of my feet. Normally they hurt so much they're all numb. Can't feel anything. and the pain is just, that's what I lived with. So from that, I had, all the other problems from having pain never shut off. And I refused to do the painkillers and anti-inflammatories. I had done those many years on and off as needed, and just didn't want to do it anymore. They ruin the rest of your life. I couldn't function on it. So I stood up, I felt around, pain was completely gone, and it took me a little bit to get my balance because I hadn't done that in a while. And it was unbelievable. It was like a miracle. So then I watched person after person coming into that conference there and finding the same type of results I was getting on all different things. They were just targeting different parts of the body with a little pad, like with the controller, sending the mimicking of the brain signals, and just like a swing, getting all the tissues into this resonance. And then those areas just energize. And once they do, it's almost like they were blocked, all the different cells. Once they open up and let the junk out, it's like cleaning, bringing your cells to the laundry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a lot of calcium, all this EMF causes all this calcium buildup in our cells, and that interferes with nutrients getting in, toxins getting out, or just the mitochondria making energy. It's like this gum. It just gums up everything.
It's this. When you talk for 5 minutes, all of your receptors in this whole area, and they show it online, you can look, anybody can, goes into, on an adult, about to here, like it gets your eye in this whole region. When you have a child, it goes almost the whole head and face, both eyeballs, the brain. When you're talking, your receptors in all the cells in this entire region remain wide open to calcium cascade. It's a calcium voltage gated channels. See, each cells have a lot of different channels for all the different minerals and components or elements that have to come into the cell and get out of the cell. And each one is different sizes. That's kind of how it works, and has different charges and different little sequences to get in. Mm-hmm. It's like unlocking the piggy banks. Calcium, you don't want too much coming in the cell. When you talk on a phone for just 5 minutes or get any kind of radiation in that level on the head, this area right here, the cells will let in 550,000 calcium atoms per second. And that's not good. You're only supposed to get 1 calcium atom per second per cell. You're getting 550,000 when you talk on the phone. And then that effect lasts for a while. I mean, it's doing it. And it fills into the inner parts of the cell. So like on the inside of a cell wall, it's almost like you filled it up with silt or sand. And that helps disrupt the communication in and out from that point. It's ruining the electromagnetics a little bit. So now that's another reason that communication starts falling off and different organs start to fail or dysfunction. Right here, that's 10 minutes on a cell phone, cordless phone, and all your blood just clams up. And when that happens, we become very anxious. We go into fight or flight. It's like you're irritated and it's like it's itchy all inside.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention that people, they feel stressed, they feel anxious, they feel depressed. I just forgot to mention all these like mental health kind of side effects as well. And not to mention just feeling like super stressed at the end of your day, and you think it's your job or you think it's your spouse, or it can't be this invisible force field around us.
It can. It is. You can blame it on that, and it'll probably make a whole bunch of marriages go better.
Yeah,
it is true. When you are irritated, you're in sympathetic mode. You're in fight or flight. You become a warrior, and the more you are locked up and receiving less oxygen throughout the body and getting aches and pains and not sleeping well, and different cells and organs are functioning less and less effectively and efficiently, it's really from having too much EMF. And it's not just from here, it's from everything. Like you said earlier, even the tires on the road with cars, when you're driving down the highway, and there's a lot of cars in the cities. So anybody around cities driving down the highway, I bet you keep the windows shut. Because when you open them, you hear the air vibrating with a static electric frequency. That's EMF. it's radiation, and it sticks and statics all over our bodies and our heads and right into the ears, and it hits your auditory as well as your whole neural path in the body. So again, dysfunction, worn out. You know how sometimes, when you're in a really nice quiet car or van and you're getting a ride for 2-3 hours to go drive somewhere, especially if you don't have to drive, you can sit in the back and there's plenty of room and comfort. When you arrive, you're not so tired, right? But when, say, your window is stuck down and it could be cold, it's the noise and the exhaust and the chemicals. That's it. It's getting us all the way there. And when you arrive, you feel, my God, I'm more exhausted arriving on this vacation than I was if I had just stayed home.
Yeah, that's kind of I feel the same way sometimes, especially when you're flying. There's all this radiation, and you feel horrible after you get off of a plane, and it's all this radiation that your body was having to deal with and fight against.
Yeah. Now on the planes, it used to be really, really bad. I took my meter everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
On the plane, sitting in the seat, I'd put the meter up here and touch, where you can do the air conditioning or the lights or the call button. It was really high EMF all the way down to about here. And now it stops right there on everybody. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get you. But there's still high frequency radiation and radiation from the sun.
Yeah, because just being high up, you're just more radiation. Yeah. And then let's talk about the pure wave mat. So you said you were on the mat or you did a session for 30 minutes. You felt better than you had in years after that. And so I just, from knowing you, I know you continue to use it and really are a huge advocate for trying to get the word out and help other people with this mat. So how is it working exactly? So what are some of the, maybe how does it work, and some of the other stories about people that have been using this and how they felt afterwards?
Everybody that I've seen take one of these home for themselves, they end up sharing it with their family, most everybody, and even their pets. I mean, it's crazy. It's everybody starts just from having one session a day. You should have two 20-minute sessions. But if you only have it once a day or only 3 times a week, the change is phenomenal on whatever's been, disrupted, dysfunctioned. You can do the small concentrated area. I did it on my feet and I did it on my chest.
Yeah, because there's like a little pad that you can use to put on like an injured area or lower back or whatever, wherever you need to put it.
Right, but the key is to energize the whole body, warm it up for about 15 minutes. I go 20 because it just feels good. But you energize up the body and then go ahead and do a pillow pad or a concentrator somewhere. And they also have one for teeth. I did my teeth. They have one for the eyes. And all conditions of the ocular are caused from blockage of calcium. You can ask any of the ophthalmologists out there. They generally have ruled that all diseases and conditions of the ocular area are caused from loss of circulation, blockage, and from clogging up with calcium. And when you have
interesting.
Say, oh, you're low in calcium, here, take calcium pills. Well, you're not going to absorb the calcium pills so good anyway, maybe. But you're low on the blood test because your cells are sucking it in. They're never closing. That's the whole key. And I think everybody's figured that out. It took a good 10 years, but I think the word's out on that one.
Yeah, I love my Pure Wave mat. I've been using this for a little over a year, and I've been talking about it intermittently. I had you on the podcast, and I had an article about it, a couple different articles about it, and I just love it so much. I'm using it twice a day. Sometimes I miss a session, but I try to aim to use it twice a day, and I just have it underneath my little mattress pillow top. And I have a chili pad actually, so I had like a little mattress top that I put the mat underneath that, and then I could just turn it on first thing when I wake up and do a little 20-minute session, energize my cells, like it charges me back up, so I'm ready to charge my day.
Up and it's almost the end of the day.
Yeah.
I started pushing the button. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's great. And then at the end of the day, a lot of times I feel kind of wired just from my work, and I'm excited about things, or I just have a really long day on the computer and I feel kind of anxious. And plus you're staring at blue light, and it just, your body's like, what's going on here? So you feel stressed. And I turn that on in the relax mode totally relaxes me, brings me down, it washes all the EMF from the day off of my body, and I go right to sleep. And I have a much deeper sleep. And I've tracked this on my Aura ring. I have an Aura ring, and before I started using it, I'd get maybe, an hour, maybe 90 minutes of deep sleep. Mm-hmm. And that's not good. And after I started using the Pure Wave mat, I started getting almost 2.5 hours of deep sleep some nights. It was a profound change.
So amounts. That's
profound.
Yeah.
And that wasn't every night, but on a lot of nights, I was like, yeah, I'm scoring much better. Yeah.
They don't even get to go there. They don't go into a deep REM state.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what they do, they'll go in for 20 minutes and then they're out. And then some people maybe twice a night, but only for like 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And people with the Aura rings or the sleep number beds, whoever has the diagnostics that shows your sleep pattern and how deep and quiet you went, what your heart rate was, they're fantastic. They show it perfectly. Yeah. It works on everybody the same way.
Yeah, and you can track this. You can track it yourself. And even Mercola, I know Mercola uses your pad, and he uses his Aura ring. He's tracking his deep sleep all the time. I know him very well.
Yeah, it shows you went into parasympathetic and stayed there. Yeah. And that's when you heal. Your body doesn't heal unless it goes into parasympathetic. Mm-hmm. And it's very hard to do that when you're always fight or flight. You're always irritated and up and your blood squeezed.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges when I'm working with clients one-on-one, or, I have a team of practitioners that I train. That's the biggest challenge, is that you can't just start taking pills and start, doing a program and try to detox and do all this stuff. You have to get into that parasympathetic state to rest, digest, detox, and whatnot, relax. And so I have a lot of different tools that I use to try to accomplish that. And the Pure Wave mat is one of those things.
Yep. And seeing people that only use the product 3 times a week. This is like, when I come and watch my wife at work, I'll come in and just kind of hang out, and I see people come in and how they, what kind of problems they have. And the biggest number one is that they say they don't sleep. They haven't slept in decades.
I struggled with that with myself for years. I was
snoring away in there within 5 minutes. They're deeply parasympathetic the entire session. And they'll run the music in their ears, the real soothing music that also kicks the healing initiators on. It goes after the mast cells. It mimics the brain, what the brain does with its frequency. You can hear the brain if you turn it into 2D and jack it up to 1 volt. And that's what her machines do here. Mm-hmm. So when that goes on, the body goes into instant repair on all these different things, but it has a priority list. It knows what's most important to work on first. Whatever area all of a sudden gets more energy, especially if you target a small area over all the other areas, that one area, okay, what can I fix right here? I've got so much energy. This is what happened with my asthma. That day that I got rid of the pain in my feet and did the session at that conference, my asthma was gone that night. And they said, take this thing back with you to the hotel room. Do it tonight and do it in the morning. But you'll see, you might not need your spray, because here inflammation comes down when energy goes up in the tissues, and that includes the lungs. You're actually changing the pH factor, bringing it up when you bring up the voltage and the energy in these tissues. So I put that little pillow pad on, and that night there was no itch, no burn, no heavy weight at all. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe it. Next morning I woke up, there was a little bit of an itch, but I mean, I could breathe. I had like full chest, and I ran a session and then brought it down to the conference, and we went home with it. It goes in the bed. I put mine in the bed. I programmed it automatically to go off in the morning while I'm still sleeping. I like 6 a.m. And by 6:30, I just slowly wake up real nice and bright and energized, just like you. You'll push the button and you feel it, and everybody feels it. That's the whole key. It's not what we call foo-foo or just maybe it'll work, maybe you'll feel it, maybe it'll do something. No, it does just what we say. It makes you feel energized, because that's their pattern. that's all it's doing. It's charging energy and removing the static and the EMF for an entire 8 or 12 hours. We haven't felt anything like that since the 1800s. To know what it feels like. I mean, people maybe, if they go out in the middle of nowhere and they're out in the woods and there's nothing around and they have no signals and no electronics, we don't know what that feels like. But some people did. And now when you Google it, it says there's no place left on Earth but maybe 1 or 2, and they show what they are. Well, you can do that at home anytime you want, and you should do it every day. That's when your body repairs like crazy. You go into parasympathetic when you get in a bad car accident, when you get into any bad accident. I was a biomed engineer. I worked 2 years at Tufts New England Medical, and I was an OR tech, and I worked the emergency, ICUs, all the equipment. I was in charge of repair and periodical checkout every month, every 3 months. I had to know how every single piece of equipment worked, and there were 768 of them. I remember the number.
That's such a trauma.
They keep getting more. You keep learning. So anyway, so let's see. So when people would come into the hospital, where was I?
Yes. So you're talking about how there's no place on Earth that's left without any EMF fields. So we have these satellites up, and that's the goal, is to blanket the entire Earth in 5G. And it's just, so anywhere on the Earth, a cell phone will work.
Yeah. So anyway, back then, people would come into the hospital and they were in really rough shape, but they were parasympathetic. That's the key. Everybody goes into shock on a bad accident, right? When a person goes into shock, that's the brain automatically pushing the button, relax. But it's deep relax. It's parasympathetic from head to toe. It's the only time the body can repair. And that's something nobody really knows unless you're in biomedical or doctors, chemists, people in that field. They understand it, but they all know the chemical process and how the brain's changing it and all that. Who cares? All you need to know is you got to relax. We can't relax when we have electronics and static all over us. It's itchy and irritating. And when we can get rid of that, then we have to still get the body and the brain and your whole nervous system. This is your whole being. It's realize you have a biofield. It's like your spirit. It all has to relax. And once it does, the body can repair like crazy. And I never knew it was how efficient it was at repairing. I never believed it going through school. They showed us how it works, and
the body just repairs on its own.
Yeah,
you're like, whatever.
All right, you prove this, you prove that, but I never fixed myself that well. But think back, anytime we've ever been hurt, our body did go and fix it, didn't it? It just took a while. Like when you get a cut, or you'd end up with a scar. But you get a cut or a broken bone or a tear or a pull, it would take, I don't know, like 4 weeks or 6 weeks when we were younger. This is back in the 50s and 60s for me. And yeah, I'm pretty old. And then, but the body would fix itself 4 to 6 weeks. Well, now we can see 4 to 6 days and you feel like you didn't have a problem. When did it happen? We're at that level with technology and drugs and everything. But drugs have side effects. Almost all of them, I think, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They have their place. They target tissues immediately. They're actually causing a chemical change that hits a certain organ that also runs certain frequencies in those chemical releases and the certain frequency codes of photon electrical communication to those tissues. So that's how they work. Problem is, everybody's in a different state when you ingest or even take an IV. You've got people respond differently based on the health and the level of their different organs and parts of their body.
The same thing works in energy medicine as well. The better someone is, like their energy field is working, the more sensitive they're going to be to energy medicine or something like a My Health or just any of the other things that I've talked about, infoceuticals or what have you, just a Reiki. I mean, there's all kinds of different energy medicine, and you're going to feel that more, the more your energy field is healthy and intact, functioning.
Yeah, your whole being is really run on the level of sensitivity. And here's what happens. Cells in one area, when you repair something over here, all the others find out about it, and they will mimic and copy whatever's working here. It's all according to the laws of zero force or full resonance. When you have anything in nature, and this includes water falling down, a waterfall from the mountains, filtering through the mountains and then out into streams and waterfalls, and then it comes down to the bottom. It's gone in the most easiest path it could figure out electromagnetically, and it creates photon electrical type communication. So photoelectric encoded information of how the water just never has to work hard to do anything to stay in optimal energy and deliver it. And we're all water. So that's getting kind of deep, but it really is why when a loved one comes home and the other one's been missing them, and I mean, you both feel it. Love is a very powerful electromagnetic and photoelectrical and energy.
But if your best friend shows up and they're in a really bad mood and just ready to throw up all over you and just talk about their horrible day, you feel that too. And you kind of want it, you want to get away from them. And but then, that's why I love it.
You'll feel it, and you'll feel it because you're both water, and through the air, we basically talk to each other without talking.
Yeah.
And we really do feel each other. Oh, picture this, because it's all science substantiated. Schools of fish, right? There's a whole bunch of them, and you got a predator, and they film them, for National Geographic's underwater or whatever. Notice them. They all turn and shift and move in the exact same timing, and they're not doing it by looking at each other. They do it with photon electrical communication, photonic waves of energy and communication. Everybody is tapped in. They're feeling it just like we feel the Earth's pulse. They're feeling the Earth's pulse, timing onto it. And then they're also feeling each other's electromagnetic resonance as well between each other. And this is how they do it. And
that's how all these trillions of cells in our body are working, and in sync with each other and communicating. All the stuff that's happening cannot happen just based on physical communication with neurotransmitters and hormones and blood running through our body. There's just all this stuff happening in our energy field. That's what I love about the Pure Wave mat, is because you send this correct pulse, this correct frequency. The cells in the body are supposed to be operating out this correct voltage, and you just optimize the body's function and communication, so everything works better and all these symptoms start falling away.
Yeah, and it's not one frequency. Like, there's a lot of machines out there. They'll pulse 8 bang 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 a second, right? 8 times, or they'll pulse 30 times a second, bang 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 bang. That's just hitting one particular little spot in your body, but it makes your brain time for a while, time out, and connect to it as if it was the Earth's Schumann resonance. And when we do that, the body runs really good while it's running, but when you shut it off, it's gone. And same thing with cleaning off the EMF. You had it working, the blood was separated, but they're putting out EMF. When you shut it off, EMF makes everything go back to the way it was within 5 minutes generally. With the Pure Wave, it lasts all day. You've removed the EMF, you've washed it away. And when you energize your cells up, EMF doesn't come in and affect you very much at all once you've washed it away. And the way it washes off is by increasing energy up to that threshold, 70 millivolts. Even if you're a little below, you've cleaned off a lot. You feel so much better.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Yeah, mine, and at night I push the button and I like feeling myself just melt into the bed and I'm gone. But in the morning, I kept missing, I'd wake up, oh, what can I do today? It's like I'm up, I'm out, oh, I'll do that afterwards. Oh, I make breakfast. Oh, I got to be somewhere. Oh my God. And then I'd miss sessions over and over and over. When I did the morning wake up automatically at 6 a.m., I get up at 6:30 or 7 every day. My life changed.
Yeah, my life changed with it too. My life changed with it too because I started sleeping. I saw it on my Oura ring. I started sleeping much deeper. You start feeling more refreshed. You start feeling better when you wake up in the morning. And and I always feel like I've reached this pinnacle of health until I reach the next pinnacle.
I know, we all right.
I always feel like I feel great, and then I introduced another thing, like, not that many things really impressed me. And I get sent a lot of things to try, but the Pure Wave mat really impressed me. I've seen other mats, like I've had a lot of people approach me about different types of mats. And I was just like, I wasn't into them. I tried them at conferences. I've done different things. I've had pain that I would try some and they just make me feel weird, or they just weren't working for me. And I just never talked about any of these mats before, and they're not a lot of them are called like pulse electromagnetic field mats or PEMF, people,
that's what they do. They squeeze the vascular system to push blood and squeeze the muscles. That's all, and there's thousands of them out there worldwide, and they all have names, different names. They copy each other. They add little gizmos to them, but they all do the same thing. They're muscle stimulators.
Yeah, and some are really dangerous. Some give you super high EMF.
They all do. I haven't found any so far that have no EMF.
Yeah.
Except Pure Wave. They did it only so they could get the communication signals in. Instead of having one frequency going off, they have 400 to 10,000 bass notes, like music, like you're doing an orchestra with the whole composition. And when those bass notes go off, they're going off at different speeds, different parts of the frequency band, all the way to 10,000, which is what the brain does. And that's what it runs on, 0 to 10,000 hertz. Kooky, right? That's music. We can make it into notes, and then we add the magnetic component. It makes it 3D, where if it was just music, that's two-dimensional. That's how loud is it, and what's the speed, right? So now we can get into 5G, because 5G is, we're having problems, and people are worried because it's very high speed.
Yeah.
And when you increase the power to that type of speed, it becomes a weapon, a military weapon. But they're not going to do that. They really ended up lowering the amount of power to match what 4G is. And 4G is lower power than 3G was. But yet 4G and 5G are becoming, 4 became much worse. With EMF and seeing people's energy drop and measuring them, I never found a small child without being near 0 on that meter until we went from 3G to 4G, and that was 2 years ago. So that's why my passion hit. It's like, geez, I can explain this so people can just take care of themselves until they figure out how to slowly get acclimated to it so they don't get terrible health. 4G, we run off of one tower, and it'll ping 900 times a minute to interact and always look and know if it got a call or if you got a text or if you got emails or whatever your notifications are. And then, of course, when you're pinging back out and running things, they handshake back and forth. I learned it in electronics way back in the 70s. So now we go to 5G. 5G, instead of having, just 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 TV stations or radio stations, they can have 80 or 8,000 or even more, that many stations by going to 5G. But it requires 3 antennas, 3 stations to stay in touch with everybody's phone, everybody's Wi-Fi, everything that runs on Wi-Fi, which is everything.
So they're putting them every 5 to 10 houses, that you have to have a lot of them. Like there's 10,000 of them just in Wuhan. In New York City, I mean, I don't know how many there are in New York City. Someone just posted earlier about there's New York City 5G. I mean, some of these larger cities, they're kind of just, hey, let's try it out, see what happens, experiment.
So I've got in our neighborhood, we were one of the test sites. 10 years ago, they put in 5G poles with the green transformer boxes. They're from the power company because they did the install, and they get to hook up their lights and turn them on and off automatically through Wi-Fi or through fiber optics. I took pictures and videos of this, so this will be on the buzzman.com. That should be opening very shortly. All right. The videos and all the rest, they're all there, and pics. So okay, so you got, in my neighborhood, every 7 houses has a pole and a big huge green box, and when I go up to it, it's on 400 or 500 millivolts of EMF, the bad kind, and it's in the higher frequency range. So now it's a matter of, okay, how much power is it? Because it doesn't hurt you that much. They're very short pings. Even though it's 900 every minute, they're really small. There's not much power that remains when it hits through our body. That's how they could get radio approved, and then even Wi-Fi approved, no problem. The only time Wi-Fi can be worrisome, really, in a severe state, is when it's in the same room with you, or it's in your closet, or it's under your desk, which is next to your bed, like my son's was. We moved it out.
Yeah, the further away you are from it, the better it is. Yeah, and I wanted to talk about, how in your home, there's lots of things you can do to remediate EMF in your home. But you can't replace the wiring, unless people are starting from scratch and building a green home, by a bioengineer, a green building engineer.
Right, there's not much you can do to remove your EMF in your house.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't going to check their TV,
The wire's just running parallel on the wall here and there. Anybody pretty much, if they check their home, they have huge Wi-Fi on certain walls. My stovetop, a convection stovetop, no flame, no coils or whatever, plugged in, not running, it's 2,000 millivolts. And then to my coffee maker, even when the coffee maker is unplugged, I show it at 400 millivolts. Because that radiation is going from the convection stovetop to my espresso maker, which is about 2.5, 3 feet away. So now that's radiating out EMF that's devastating to anybody who sits there. If I set up a little kitchen table or a little bar stool setup, we'd get sick.
What about microwaves? Can you talk about those? I know there's a range of things that emit. I
measured the microwave in the video too. It's the machine's not that bad. It can be leaking a little bit of microwave. It really does through the grill, all the little holes. But those are enough to disrupt, to knock the power down. Even if the frequency's there, there's no power. And I show how far out away you need to be on everything. And that microwave, you can be right up against the door, but not when it's running.
Yeah.
Hertz goes off. It's huge. I don't know. I guess they're spinning electrons, and when it's running, I can feel it. I think most people feel it, even if they're not sensitive. And I am sensitive. I feel energy on people, on products, on when I go through the supermarket, through the freezer section. It's really irritating. I usually skip that aisle. Yeah. I'll go there, but I have to kind of chill out to go in and try to absorb it, try to actually take that energy.
Yeah, and you don't really think about those things. You think it's, you're thinking of EMF as wireless internet and your cell phone, but there's a lot of dirty electricity from all these appliances. And like what I was saying before is people will buy smart refrigerators and smart devices, smart dishwashers, so they can control their house from their phone or what have you. And then there's security alarms, and there's emergency lights, and then there's all these things that you need to be aware of. And yeah, you can measure that stuff all day long, and you should get an EMF meter and measure this stuff and try to get rid of the things you can live without or exchange things as you're able to. But in the meantime, you need to be doing something to like a pure wave mat to try to get rid of all this damaging EMF and purge it from your cells.
Yeah, with us and all of our friends and all of our family, my mom's, Tony's mom, all of us, we know the difference. And then, of course, all of Tony's colleagues, all the doctors. She sells just to doctors. She's a wholesale provider and educator, so they teach how to take care of the body.
Yeah, you have a lot of medical doctors that have these mats in their clinics.
Oh yeah. She's been going a good 5 years now. It's a lot. I'm going to show you like a representation of what 4G was. Okay. So 4G here. Okay, right? Okay. They're like this. See little bubbles? Look at that. Okay, that's 4G. So when you have a cell phone on you, it's a receiver, but it's also a transmitter, and it's going off. And there's just so many stations going off, and everybody has a phone, and that's where the extra bubbles are coming from, right? So now think about all the houses all side by side. A lot of them are pretty close to each other these days. And of course, when you go to the mall, the stores, cities, it's Wi-Fi and cellular data and wireless service everywhere for every single thing, every cash register, everything. Well, they don't do cash registers. There's no cash. We're all done with that, I think. All right, here comes 5G. You ready? This is everybody having a cell phone with huge amounts of pinging going on. And everyone causes a wave. And the waves, just like at the ocean, they go on top of each other, and many of them, usually the fifth wave, builds bigger and bigger and bigger in power. This is where it's going to hurt us.
Yeah.
It's building up because there's too many of us running way too many things with EMF going all over the rooms, the walls, the car. When you drive, if you get one of these little tri-field meters and go in a gas-powered car, the EMF is huge in the dashboard.
Even if it's not an electric car?
They're all going to be 5G. They run 4G now. This is bad. And it disrupts and puts static all around the outside cell membranes, around the entire sphere, just like it's doing around this guy. And that's it. So that's where we're going to see more and more dysfunction if we don't wash it off and stay ahead of it. And the way to stay ahead of it is to keep the energy high, where it repels like reverse magnets. It just lets go. It goes right through you and didn't even stick, which is what I kept finding on the children, the little ones. Now, 9 and 10-year-olds, they might not make it. They're like old people. Yeah, it's been a whole year of 4G, another whole year. So I'm not finding too many young ones. So energy to repel.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of kids today and teenagers that are fatigued and malaise and then depression. They just don't know what's going on. So let's get to some of the questions here. We have a lot of people with questions. And again, if you guys want to check out more information about a pure wave mat, this is probably one of the best solutions that I've found to help wash off this EMF that's, impacting your body, damaging your cells, damaging your health, causing a multitude of different symptoms. Even infertility is one too. So lowered immunity, infertility, fatigue, brain fog, stress, anxiety, depression, you name it, poor sleep. A lot of symptoms can be addressed by getting rid of this EMF that's impacting your body. So the first question here is coming from Tanya. Tanya, thanks for joining us. So what about airplane mode on your phone? So is that still problematic? Because a lot of people turn their phone on airplane mode and then put it next to their bed and then go to sleep. What's up with that?
Yeah, it doesn't help you out anymore. That stopped about a year ago when they hit 4G. And then we had an update, I think it was 2 years ago, September, October, right around there. It was the end of the summer. Shutting off, well, they're keeping our cell phones pinging in communication. They don't shut off. And that's the damaging part, because it's not that you have one on you and it's pinging high frequency or Wi-Fi. It's that everybody's pinging all around you. You go in an airplane, my God, there's 220 people in there.
Yeah.
And then you got all the electronics doing the same thing. So you've got like, it's like an Alka-Seltzer tablet going off and just ruining communication in and out. And you're losing your timing with the pulsing of the brain. Back in the early 1900s, it was Schumann. He developed the product and showed that he could measure the Earth's resonance and that it has a heartbeat, and that all animals and plants, all living creatures, set up their biological timing of all the processes that their cells and tissues and organs run on. They're all in timing like music. 4 years later, a doctor came and these were published, like these were real publications back then. He came out with the discovery and the substantiation that, because he was doing imaging and x-rays back in the early 1900s, he showed that the brain was actually pulsing to the exact frequency as what Schumann had said.
The Schumann resonance.
Yeah, and I never thought much of the importance of the Schumann resonance really until the last year or so. Because I never knew that I could be in touch with it and that it was doing anything for me. It's like, when we measure it, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't find anything on the fact that the human body really wants to respond to it.
Yeah, I wanted to do like a little demonstration. So people understand what resonance means and what that is. And so this is a biofield tuning fork that I use, but we won't get into that. And so this has two forks here. So if I hit one of them, so I hit this one, it's vibrating at a certain resonance, and it affects this one too. This one vibrates also. So that's kind of what a pure wave mat is doing, is it's emitting this certain frequency, and that causes your cells to vibrate at or resonate at the right frequency. So that really helps people understand this kind of abstract concept.
It does. It's like the swing. It's pushing at a certain speed. And the brain really does like to sink into the electromagnetic pulse or pushing that it feels. And it's very small. It's very, very small. But you can measure it on machines and see it. And it's online every day. You can actually see how it's doing, where you live, and what the number is. And on and off, we have some really high swings where it speeds up. This happened a year ago, April, and the year before in April. And everybody's like, anybody who is sensitive to frequencies, they were watching for it. They thought, the world's going to change. Well, maybe it did. But what really happened is the biological entity, each person, each body, did a whole bunch of work in a very short time, while it was really high and running fast. And we got a lot fixed and changed, and thoughts and everything. So biologically, it really did do a lot for people all over the world and animals. It allows us to fix and repair ourselves during the interim to some extent. It's what our bodies are designed to do. We're recycle plants, let's face it. All we do
totally.
We take in food and nutrients and water and replenish, and then we expel the waste. But they show in substantiation that every person, I'm pretty sure it's every day, but it might be every month, has 20 pounds of recycled material that it has rebuilt and utilized. All the atoms from all the components.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and so Nancy has a question here. So this is a really good question pertaining to the home and about solar panels. And so I resisted getting solar panels for a number of years because I just had concerns about them. So solar panels, from what I understand, can emit a tremendous amount of EMF. And I know a number of people that have had them installed and then got really sick, brain fogged, weren't functioning well, fatigued, couldn't figure out what was going on. They realized it was the solar panels. So what are your thoughts on the EMFs in relationship to solar panels? The blueprints show that the solar panel inverter, which converts the sunlight into electricity and goes takes it to the house, would go on the roof above our master bedroom. So even though the company says the EMF rating is low, it still really concerns me greatly. Please give us your thoughts.
Okay, yeah, great question. And we know the panels themselves don't have EMF coming off of them. Their chemical change that's going on in there is creating DC voltage, right? The inverter is what swings it into 60 hertz. We go positive, negative, right? Okay, so let's see. When the inverter is going off, if you were to measure how far away you are, it's just like having one of those big green transformer boxes. If I get a good 5 feet away, they're not so bad in our neighborhood with those 5G poles. The pole itself that's concrete, that's 500 or 600 millivolts. If you walk up to it and grab it, it's kind of like if you licked your fingers and stuck them into a socket. That has high power, high current, and it can deliver a lot of electrons, and you'll feel it, right? But yet the Earth itself has 5,000 volts of built-up energy with very little power. The electrons don't flow from the Earth directly into our bodies. It's from the components in the water, and that's all nurturing. That's all the smooth delivery.
Yeah, so the inverters are what's problematic. Probably should not go in your master bedroom.
Many people put them in the basement. Last year, we have a family friend who was born Amish, and she asked me if I would come with her to visit her family and maybe help her just figure out why they're all getting so sick. They're Amish. They've never been around electricity. Some of the kids now have phones, but they don't leave them on. They actually shut them off. If you shut off a phone, it works like airplane mode used to, but it has to be off. That's the key, and that's not convenient. So we have to learn how to live with it and just keep washing off. All right, so they had them in the basement. They have solar panels in the Amish country. So when I went up to visit, man, they were really, severely diseased people. All kinds of horrible things were happening to them, and they've never had electricity. Well, walking around with my meter, I walked right outside the front door. Like when I got to the front door, the meter was going up. So I videoed it and took pics. And then, and I did this in other houses there too. And the same outcome. I get to the front door, it's kind of going up. I open the door and walk outside, it's even higher. I walk out to just where there's not a sidewalk, it's like the end of their property, and the road is there, and they run for miles, 5 miles, 2 miles, 1 mile, maybe 10 miles, straight, with just 3 power wires. I said, well, nobody really uses power, but in the last 4 or 5 years, the families here and there have been selling off the farms to regular people, whatever they call us, technology people, and they've been running electricity. They turned on power in those farms. So now the power wires are running power, and the meter's sky high out front. They've got the horse and the buggy right there. I measure the horse. He's high. I said, how is this horse? Oh, he's like premature aging. Like he's not going to make it another year or two. And we're going to take him off the cart. He can't pull the cart anymore, and he's not even that old. And I said, well, look at how high his EMF is. Horses are more sensitive, I feel, than people. They take in energy like crazy, and maybe they just, these are horses also that never felt electricity. And now their bodies don't know how to deal with it. And same thing with the people. So we brought those pure wave mat, because I have one, and our family friend, she has one. And her mom and dad do. And the changes for us were phenomenal. So I don't fly anywhere without bringing my mat. And I do it in the hotel, at night or whatever. Or I was in their house anyway as a guest. So, and I brought it. I'm not going to go anywhere without it, because the difference is you miss it. You feel like you had a vacation that you got run down instead of rejuvenated and picked up. And it doesn't matter what I eat, I found. Well, it does. I mean, when I eat really good food, it really gets absorbed. It never used to do that. And you know, anything like really nice and healthy. And I went down to much less meat, but I can eat meat. I can eat fish. It's like when I was a child, I could eat pizza, no problem, and make a lot of good out of that, right? And utilize it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people today, they're so stressed and their digestive system isn't working well at all. They're not absorbing their food, and their supplements they're spending so much money on. They're trying to fix their health issues, and that's that throws a big wrench in things. And I think a Pure Wave mat is such an amazing way to bring the stress level down, get the digestion, get the cells working better again, allowing your body to utilize and extract all these nutrients, and then actually get them into the cells, because our cells aren't working right. They're not charged properly, and these nutrients can't get in.
Exactly. And when the nutrients are getting in and the waste is being released and washed out, and then the excess calcium isn't coming in anymore, my eyes improved, my teeth improved. I use this special concentrator on the teeth. You hold it 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. And it feels like somebody's just scrubbing and massaging away inside your teeth, like where they're like way up in the jaw and the bone. And the blood turns on, I guess, the circulation. But that's not the feeling. The feeling is you feel the nerves, they're like waking up again. It feels like everything's working and running. And in 30 days, my periodontal disease was down to 2s and 3s. Before that, I had open 5 pockets on every single tooth, and all the roots were showing, and they're all better. And all I did was that. They even looked at surgery. They said, well, in another year, you're going to be all teeth removed or falling out, and you're going to be dentures, and just get used to the idea. You got about a year to go. And that was my fibroid disease that did it. So then I didn't feel so bad, because fibroids were gone in the feet, and I was slowly getting better. They went from 5s to 4s, and I didn't do anything different. I just was running the energy and removing EMF. And then my eyesight, I wore glasses since high school, far away and up close, and I was a lab rat too. So, I mean, it's always, computer squinting, all that. And the eyes get strained and they stay stuck on. And I had a 275 script and a 250 on this side. And I had macular degeneration and a retina tear from a car accident in this eye. They said I'd be blind by the time I'm 70. So getting close, but it completely isn't there. I saw my ophthalmologist 2 years ago. Hadn't seen him in about 8 years. He fell off his chair. I told him what I was doing, because he said, well, this is going to be some crazy kind of machine. I said, no, it removes the radiation from static, and the circulation will turn on, but it energizes the cells, so they do a good job. And he said, well, how did you, realize it was getting better? And I said, because my glasses got blurry, and when I went and got readers that were stronger, they were even worse. And then when I finally went like that, I'm like, oh my God, they're less blurry, more blurry, less. and the same thing far away. I'm like, oh, just like the teeth.
Well, I don't want to fix my eyes. I just got a new glasses, a new prescription.
Yeah. With me, I had loss of elasticity of the muscles, is what my ophthalmologist said. And in any repairs, the body's always trying to repair tears and breaks and things like that. But other people have eye distortion because of the ocular. It's the shape, and the shape will always be off. Like some kids, they need glasses right away at 5 years old, and they probably need it before that. It depends on the shape, not that there's some dysfunction of a tissue around the eye. So I found that's probably the difference. But even glaucoma, I was getting glaucoma, and getting a little milky looking and not so bright, and I need really, really bright light. It's all slowly dissipating. I'm on year number 5, almost 6 with my mat.
Yeah, I was worried about that too, because my father had glaucoma, and I just thought, God, all these health issues that my parents have, that I have genetics for them, and I don't worry about any of that anymore.
Nope.
Because I know with all the stuff that I'm doing for my health, using the Pure Wave mat and detoxification and all the stuff that I'm talking about, all yammering all the time on my website and podcasts and webinars, that I don't, I'm so clean and everything I'm doing, I'm not going to be developing these things. That's not going to happen to me.
Right.
So it really gives me peace of mind.
Yep. It's like we've been let off the hook. We're going to have super quality of life to the end of days.
Mm-hmm.
The worry from everybody when they're getting older is that it's going to be absolutely severe and miserable.
And they'll be on medications and in a nursing home. You don't have to, that does not have to be you. That's if you just leave it to your doctor. That's what happened to my dad. 10 medications, nursing homes.
Not anymore.
Yeah, and like all these different surgeries with anesthesia that kill your brain cells more and more and more every time you go under general anesthesia. And so he ended up this brilliant man ended up a vegetable in a nursing home and then died of cancer. And so that's what happens when you leave your health up to another person that has 5 minutes to spend with you. So you have to take your health into your own hands.
Yep. And now we have the tools. We have things that are showing this really works, that really works. You'll want to add in this and this and this. When you start adding in 3 or 4 modalities all at the same time and everything works a little, you get a whole buildup of all that change. But when you energize cells and then you do any other type of activity or take in products, the uptake is huge. It's really huge. The change. So we are charged up. That's the whole key.
So we have a question from Catherine. So I wanted to answer your question, Catherine, because you're talking about, you're going into your doctors keep guessing what your symptoms could be caused by. So I experience electrical shock sensations and full body jolts. Might these be symptoms of EMF toxicity? Thank you.
Everything can be a symptom of EMF toxicity because it's dysfunction of some function or product or component of your body. So when you have electrical shock sensation, it's a whole different field with neurologists. They study how nerves are sending signals through pathways, or if they're cut off or in dysfunction. These are the doctors that know how it's happening. They know what the dysfunction is. And with us, we target nerves. I target them when I need them, like in the belly area or the brain. I was having, I had fibroids everywhere. It was in my blood system. I had super high cholesterol for years and years. And that was when I was careful eating. Now I can eat eggs every single day, whole eggs. I had pizza the other night with the boys and I feel good. And I don't work out. And all of this trim and tightness and good skin, I didn't have this 5 years ago. And we've got pictures of me where I looked ill, and I was becoming old and quite ill. And it was my disease more than anything that was getting even my kidneys were being attacked by the fibroids. So I target the kidneys. We target by tissue density. It's a simple card. It just says the brain runs in a certain amplitude window. That's their other patent. And each jump up a step hits different tissue densities. So when you're at 10, you're getting into the bones. And inside, the bone marrow is like actually one number smaller. And when you're down low, you start going for the soft organs in different components. But the kidneys, sorry, I can't say that. I have to be careful because we can't say we treat anything. We don't. It's just that we know we can let the body sense or feel and take in energy in different parts of the body based on its density. And that's how the brain runs. So the belly and the brain, they almost look alike. The intestines, right, and the brain. So we target the head and the belly. And by doing that, we do a number 1. It's the smallest level. That's where all the brain action is for this type of a tissue density. Kidneys, we do a number 5. And renals and adrenals and pancreas and the gallbladder. They're number 2, along with lymphatics. Man, when I started targeting my lymphatics, everything seemed to get healthy on me. And I was doing other things, not just running my concentrator, the Pure Wave. I was doing the exercises, to open up the lymphatics, and everything started getting better and better and better on me.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Take care of ourselves. We're learning how our body runs, and we can do lots of things that work. But if you got the energy already, try the other things. That's key.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you need energy. Like you can't do anything without energy. So sleep takes energy. Repairing the body takes energy. Healing from chronic disease takes energy. And it's a detoxification takes energy. And it's like when people are like behind the 8 ball, when they're just behind that curve, it's really, really frustrating to kind of get out of that. You're like in this inertia where it's hard to overcome that lack of energy to get better. And so that's why I love the Pure Wave mat to help people just make that jump so they can start getting better. And so Craig is asking, so any independent scientific verification of the Pure Wave mat? And just one thing on that, a lot of products have studies on them that they themselves had to commission with, doctors that work independently. But, many times there's not going to be independent studies of amazing products because there's no one that has any motivation to do studies on certain individual products. So that doesn't make them invalid or biased in any way. But so I know you guys have a lot of studies, but I'm not aware if any of them are independent or not.
They have independent studies, third party, as well as their own studies on their own product. Mm-hmm. Like everybody in the industry of energy medicine will say that, well, our product, it'll give you energy. It's going to energize you. And then they'll say, and here we've got proof, like PEMF will do this and PEMF will do that. And there's tons of PEMFs, thousands of them. And some of them do have a chance of energizing your body. They may not be targeting, and they're sporadic. It's like shooting a shotgun from far away and all the pellets spread out. Something's going to hit, it'll hit one person and then 100 other people, not really at all. See? But when you actually talk to each specific tissue by density and you know how to resonate them and get them to open up, and the only way to do it is to clear the EMF. They can't get in with those small signals. The brain can, and I think it's because of the photon communication waves. Like we think it, and then it helps it go through. But when we send in the same frequency energy that the brain is shooting out through the body every 20 milliseconds, full burst, all of them, the cells will respond that need product or need assistance. And the only way to do it is to remove the EMF. And I only know of a few products in the world that actually remove EMF from your body. Yeah. And then you can turn on the pumps by getting them resonating. Yeah. And they're patent, and nobody else has that patent. So
because this mat was one of the very first ones in the 80s to get the patents, and then everything else after that was kind of a copycat.
They're the first full-body PEMF in the world ever, and they kept all the technology for themselves, locked it all up. They were Germans, and they worked with the Russians. Yeah. I think the Russians really helped develop it more than anything. They're amazing people.
Well, yeah, they're ahead in all the energy medicine. They're ahead of miles ahead of us on that.
Yes. You don't hear anything about the coronavirus going on in Russia, do you? And Germany has had 0 deaths, along with Sweden. And guess where our product was developed and what they all use there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Well, they have had some deaths, but not nearly like the U.S. Forget it. I mean, and there's so many factors playing into that. There's so many factors.
Confirmed corona deaths for Germany and Sweden.
Oh, really? 0 confirmed.
On the NBC News.
Okay.
Early morning.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and so Craig, if you so all the scientific studies So those are on purewaveenergycenters.com.
We have to be careful. My wife says that she's only allowed to give all of the science and the details because it's claims about how it's affecting the body, which is treating, that only doctors can handle that and see that and learn all about it. But there's plenty on the website, I'm pretty sure that she's got on there that says, look, this is our patent, we do this, we do that, we do this. And it depends on who calls in.
Yeah.
You know, they're either authorized to know or which the general public is not authorized to know that much.
Okay.
And, it's better for them to go to a doctor or a clinic that has energy medicine.
Yeah, and I know like once people, they're a practitioner, I think once they buy a mat, you get access to a portal and you have all the studies in there too, as far as I know.
Product owners, absolutely, they will know how to use their machine, how to use it on their family, their loved ones, friends, and themselves. And then they'll know how to get the most out of it.
Okay.
Because it's a very easy thing to run. Because it's only putting out the power of the brain and nothing is being taped or attached or to the body or the skin, a child is allowed to run it. Nobody can ever be hurt. It has zero complications. Where if you look at products that are called PEMFs, and this one, PureWave really isn't just that. It's, you know, they marketed or listed scientifically that they're pulsed electromagnetic frequency waveform. Nobody else did the waveforms. They just did pulsing. So they've never really been what all these PEMFs are. And looking at that, they've got, you know, they all create, it's very hard to remove EMF when you have very small waveforms. But PureWave's the only one that has no contraindications. Nobody can be hurt for any reason in any aspect, even small children, even small animals. And the PEMFs, they do have contraindications, and I'll name them. Because the standard one was a big MLM program that went US-wide for about 2-3 years. They're gone now, but and people never even read the book. I mean, my God, it's right in the book. You open it up, it's like contraindications. What is it? If you have cancer, it's contraindicated on those systems. If you have metal implants, if you have a pacemaker, if you had seizures, if you had thrombosis, you know, that's like blockage and inflammation in the artery in the limb, all right? The reason is it's huge EMF. And they're pulsing, bang, 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 bang. And their power would go up much higher than what the brain's running on. Some of the systems were called extremely low frequency, ELF systems. The brain only goes up to 40 microtesla. The PureWave people, the technology people that developed the PureWave technology, they discovered how high up the brain runs, what it looks like, where we need to stay in the natural level of what the brain is running on for the cells to be fooled. We're actually fooling them. It's like, guess what? We just rang your bell, open the door.
Yeah.
let the energy in.
And so, and Catherine has a really good question. So she said, you mentioned that cysts can be created by EMFs. So when the PureWave mat removes EMF from the body, do these cysts go away?
CYST, cysts?
Yeah, CYST.
Yeah, your body can remove any dysregulation, any damaged material, and cysts are actually targeted. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, so erase that, everybody. You can target the density level of anything going on, and it may not be listed that way, but by being a product owner, you'll have direct little short videos, just 2 or 3 of them, and you're a pro. And really, a 5-year-old can run the system.
Yeah, it's super simple.
Yeah, and then it can be auto-programmed for geriatrics, which is what we did for my mom, Tony's mom, lots of other geriatrics. We're like, don't even push the button. Just go to bed. Never go in anybody else's bed. Just always go in your bed.
Yeah. That's so funny.
And my mom and dad like woke up. It was like the movie Cocoon. I'm not kidding. All the old people walking around, assisted care, like, and they all got the walkers and everything. My dad was up to a walker, and he was kind of like that. And boom, stature, structure, awareness. His brain came back. His interaction. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say that because it's talking about some other person, even though it's my dad. So I can't go further on that. But boy, did we change their lives and everybody else we know. And then their friends too. They'd come in for little afternoon sessions. My mom would give them, come on in, honey. Let me give you a little energy and love.
I'm going to bring my mat this weekend to my mom's and my stepdad's house because we're going over there for my daughter's 10th birthday this weekend. She's going to be 10. And I'm going to bring the mat. He just had surgery and he's in a lot of pain right now. I just hurt his shoulder. And so I'm going to help bring the mat to help bring his pain levels down and charge him up, see how he does.
Yeah. So you know what to run for that. The first thing you do is you go after the uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
And just what you said, those things. And that should be gone 80 to 100% on one session. Even if you don't do the full body, just doing the concentrator, just walk in and do it. And there's like a delay, like a 15-minute delay. When they're done, you have to ask them, how much percentage of change did you have? How much better is the change from before you started? And it's percents, not a 1 to 10. It has to be 100%, 80%. We generally see 80 to 100% in one session, on their first session, no matter what the problem or condition is. But if they don't get it on the standard setting for that, then you go for the nerves. Then it's not so much you have your injury, but the nerve itself maybe is injured or impinged or blown up. And when you hit that, if the one didn't get it, the other one gets it.
Okay, fantastic. That's good to know.
The best thing is it's not a Band-Aid. It's not that, we took away all that uncomfortableness. No, the body for 8 to 12 hours is going to be working, fixing, changing, and replacing. And when it replaces cells, well, if you have cells that are low in energy, you're going to get half put together, not so great problems and mistakes here and there in the new cells. And when you get older, it's even worse. And when you get older, you start going way down. Now you're making really crummy replacement cells, aren't you? Because you're running on 50 millivolts instead of 70 or 80. Children are born with 90 to 100 millivolts. And when they're infants, that's what they have. And within the year, they come down. They kind of settle in around 80 or 90. And that's where they remain until adults. But now it's all the interaction of interfering fields. They're dropping down much quicker.
Yeah. And so Mary is asking, so what about other mats that are way less expensive? And are there practitioners in my state who have a pure wave mat so I can try it before I buy it? And so Mary, we don't know what state you're in. You didn't mention that. So if you could leave a comment really quick, that would be great.
Yeah, generally going to the conferences, I've seen everything out there. I get to go with my wife. Well, I love it. It's all education for me. That's all I do. I walk around and I just learn things and look at things and check out how does this work and what do you got and what's the latest thing you have and you have. And anything I found that things that don't work as good as the pure wave can cost double, triple, 30 grand, 50,000, $70,000, and they're just big, huge muscle squeezers in those big chairs. And the EMF is huge. And they run these machines out of big boxes on horses. And now in state of New York, last year, they outlawed it. No horse is allowed to have it. Nobody's allowed to bring it to the horses or to the events or to any of the stables in the entire state of New York, because somebody got smart and found that they were crashing their HRV, the heart rate variability analysis of the whole body and the heart, and it's your heart rate staying steady. It tells the level of your health, and every time they run them, it was like addiction. The horses love it. They really do. They love that feeling. They're getting energized. Their blood's separating. They had EMF all over them, just like we did. And then they're using huge power, 12,000 volts, 30,000 volts, and high current with electromagnetics. So they're pounding away and pounding away. They get the blood to separate, but only while it's running. And then they are energizing somewhat, some of them, because some of that is going to hit and give some energy, but not enough, and not the whole body, and not every one. It's hit or miss, because they're just banging away pulses instead of doing complete waveform signals. And then the power is way too high. You're pounding away at a cell, open the door, and you're giving them huge voltage and current. It's not that good. But what it does is it turns the dopamine level back up. They get addicted to it because it never goes up as high as it did previously. It's always a very slight drop, more and more and more. So just like with cigarettes, that's what an addiction is to cigarettes. Okay.
Yeah. And what about blood pressure? Lee is asking, can the pure wave mat help with blood pressure?
We're not allowed to say that, but what we do say is that all aspects of blood pressure are controlled by staying in a harmonic balance of resonance. And we know the tissues, it's the renals and adrenals usually are the big part of it right there, and the kidneys too, and other glandular functions, your hormones. But all of that is when it's perfect, it's working in harmony with those tissues and glandular releases, and they're the proper chemical components being manufactured by your body. So then you don't have a problem with blood pressure. You're just running beautiful and smooth. When they go out of balance, they'll either go high or low. There could also be a problem with your vascular system, where they leak. The epithelial cell walls actually leak, or they stay clammed up. There's dysregulation and dysfunction there. All of them, by being resonated, all those areas of the body, the whole body goes back to regulation.
Yeah.
And those tissues know where they're in harmony and where they're in balance. And as long as they've got energy and they're feeling that resonance to follow along, especially on a daily effort, oh my God, you feel like a child again. You feel like, well, you think back, was I this sick when I was younger? Some kids are, but it's a pretty small, group. Most people, we were pretty good until we hit our teens or late teens or early 20s or 30s or 40s. And we didn't even have the cell phones until, much later. But we were already getting beat up from all the EMF back then, and all the EMF just from tires and driving to work every day. And it messes up your cell function. It's everything. So we say, if you do, when we do the pure wave, we're like, we have an umbrella, and it's like we just came in out of the electrical storm, because every time you walk out the door, you're in it, and everywhere you go, you're in it. And now it's the cars. Oh my God, it's 5G going off with every single car all around you, everywhere, all day long. And then when you come home, it's 5G going off in every single product all around your house. And your kids have phones, and you have phones, and your neighbors have phones, and then the Wi-Fi's, and everything's running 5G. So it's going to be extremely interrupting, and I guess it has already begun, and people are, coming out with, hey, I'm having this effect and this symptom and that symptom, and I'm not as happy or healthy, or I'm tired every day. I'm just exhausted, and I'm running out of steam. And no matter how many, good supplements I take and good nutrition and foods, I'm wearing down. I feel like I'm running out. And they are. They are.
Yeah.
We're going to get through it. We're going to fix it. Everybody will learn how to stay healthy. I think, the coronavirus and all of what's been going on, everybody we know, they're assumed, the bulk of us, including us, we are assumed that we, how do they say it? We were assumed exposed, and we had major symptoms or minor symptoms. I'm in my 60s, so I had some pretty damn good symptoms. And in 1 or 2 days, my body completely eradicated it. And every year when the flu was coming, my boys would get it, and while they were sleeping, I'd go put the mat on top of them. You know, they're not going to put it under them or in their bed, so they're sitting there wiped out and sleeping. I run the mat. They wake up like, you're like, oh, I'm better. Think I can leave now and go out? I'm like, no, wait a day. Yeah, and it's just a matter of the body is doing it itself. It knows what to do. It's been working on us ever since the moment we were in inception.
Yes, yes. And so, so Christian this is a good question. A lot earthing mats are really popular, and so they're cheap, you know, and I have an earthing mat. How concerned should I be about dirty electricity? I want to be able to use my earthing mat, but I don't have a budget to invest in Stetzer meters to check out the frequencies. So can I still use my earthing mat and have benefits if I don't know how my electricity is? Okay, so here's the run up on my personal opinion on earthing mats. Not everybody becomes acclimated to them, especially in the beginning. It's pretty tough for people because it's almost like too much of a good thing. You're grounding all of your energy into the ground, and people sleep on them right from the moment they buy them. Some of them will make it and they like it and they needed it, and others the exact opposite. They didn't sleep at all. They were horrible. It was the worst night I ever had. Oh my God. And some people will keep trying it over and over, and then they're like, nah, it's just not that good. When you're grounding all of your energy into the ground, you're losing it. You're losing your electrons. Goodbye. And your cells, if they were already low, this is my personal opinion now, seeing people with earthing mats and providing them to the doctors, and then seeing the doctors come back the next morning, and half of them were like, worst night, and returned. Others were euphoric. They said, oh, I love it, but I've had one before. I have one, but I wanted the newer one. And I said, well, tell me, how does it work for you? Oh, when I lie on it, I kind of hold my own, and I feel like EMF isn't bothering me, because many of them do. They feel the EMF. They're aware of it, even doctors. But they say, see, that was the key. That was the secret. They hold their own. They've done it for a while. They're already quite healthy in every aspect. They're at these health conferences. They do everything. I found people that are healthy, or like healthy hippies. Oh my God, they do great on them. They do. But still, they're not getting energized except from either their own good thoughts and their own good foods and practices. They're dealing with the fact that this thing's trying to drag their energy out of their cells all night long, and their body has figured out a way to let it go down, get the EMF off, and then not go any further, just hold their own. So that's my experiences of this. I've always avoided the grounding mats. Yeah, I just, for whatever reason, I was just not attracted to them. I just have never recommended one. For that reason. I didn't know quite what was wrong with it, but it just wasn't resonating with me, and I never used one. Yeah,
that's the thing. There's no resonance. You need resonance. You need something to be pushing you on the swing and feel it. Music, dancing. Why do people love music all over the world and have ever since the dawn of creation? Why? Because it's resonance.
The frequency.
Yeah, it makes the body feel good. It makes the cells go into harmony where they don't have to use any energy to sit and exist and repair and fix and change and keep high energy, and it's effortless. That's what we're all about. And it's because of the water, because water naturally does that in its own mathematical formula. It's been proven.
And so, Gabriel was saying, so the website you mentioned, thebuzzman.com, isn't working. So you mentioned that's going to be open soon. Yeah. So
get it open. It'll be just for helping people with knowledge. That's all. I won't recommend anything. I'm just going to show people how they can help keep themselves healthy and happy, and how to be aware to stay that way, and how to get acclimated to our new world.
Yeah, right.
We're very capable. We're resilient, and we need to make ourselves more resilient and learn how to get rid of the EMF. So for now, the easy way is with a pure wave. And it's not it's expensive, but compared to other PEMFs out there, it's like right in the middle on the lowest end. They're $4,000.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they're doing a coronavirus special. That would be nice. They probably would or should.
Yeah, I think if you guys want to join us in this group buy, was essentially what Pure Wave is allowing. You can get $500 off a mat if you buy it within the next few days. So, get on the website, learn more about it. We're going to answer some more of your questions. But yeah, you can get $500 off, which is huge right now. And this is the best deal I've ever seen on them. I've known you guys for a couple of years. This is the best offer right now. So this is a good time to get one.
Yep.
And so Josette is asking, so can the mat be used with an adapter if traveling to Europe?
Oh, absolutely. The control box has 50 hertz or 60 hertz, and you just plug the plug into the other little receptacle with the 2 holes, or whichever one it is, depending on the country.
Okay, fantastic.
Yep.
And
it
so
does it. It'll automatically reset itself to run there instead of here.
And so Carol is saying it has a 3-year warranty. So how long do they last?
Oh, this part I know. Tony got a call. Well, there's been quite a few, actually. She's had calls from people where they've had the mat for 25 or 30 years. It started 3 years ago, and it was different. It's been improved 6 times. It's had 6 revisions, and man, the last revision was out of this world. That's the one we have. That was a good 5 years ago, almost 6. They put in Fibonacci into the tops of the pulses because they discovered that really it's the Fibonacci that helps open up the sidewalls of cells. It's how energy is drawn into cells, and then the energy just slowly lets off, and then it goes real fast and it spins out. So every time there's pulses in that 10,000 hertz going off, and it's like bang, bang, zzz, wah, they're all going off like music all at once. And then that's what's in Tony's machine, her VEMI machine. But the PEMI is the technology, the base of all of it. And that's what you get to take home. So when these notes are going off, the Fibonacci let off is that latest revision. It gets everything working better and more definite. And that must have been how it all changed so much, because nobody's ever knew that there was a product out there that 5-6 years ago that was this capable. And even 30 years ago, the US was kind of, hidden it, not even allowing it. It wasn't here. And it certainly was a political problem. So Tony's the FDA registered importing facility, the only one for North America and Canada and South America. And she does everything with doctors legally.
Okay. Yeah, fantastic.
Real science, and science about her products, not the technology was tested with this and that or by NASA. Oh, please. It's like, did you test your product? And what does it do? That's all. That's it. And that's all.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a lot of like research out there. Like people talk about, oh, they're mad. And this PMF was.
This PMF does this.
NASA, and so automatically.
Almost, I would guess almost all of them were about this one. It was the first one. And they had, when I was working with the neural stims for the pacemaker company, we were blocking the signals. And we heard, this was 1980, 81. 83 was my release with the FDA. I ran the whole thing. I was the director of the project as a project engineer. So I had a team that was amazing. We designed it. We put it in production. They ran the clinical studies, and then they got FDA approval. And I was just overseeing it all, and then putting it into manufacturing and sending it out worldwide. When this thing hit, it changed the world. They said, wow, you can block the signals. Well, in that year, 1983, we heard that a German group of scientists had figured out how to talk to the cells and open up the sidewalls and let in oxygen. We didn't understand back then that meant they were charging up the cells and making them work better, like, when we start in life, not when we end it.
Yes, yes.
And it was real. Yeah. So
and so Carol's asking, again, can you trial it? Is there a money back guarantee?
I know they don't do that because it's a medical product in Europe and it's set up through the FDA as just a health and wellness product. But this is a 30-year-old product. They know it works. It does exactly what it says on every single person, exactly the same way with the same outcome. And I've seen it. It really does. So it's just a matter of, do you want it? It will do this. And then they'll work with you personally. They're open, I think, 24/7, it seems. Everybody gets relief and outcome. Successful outcome. Yeah.
Carol's also asking, does it help with metal detox?
Oh, yeah. Think about it. That just goes without saying. When you're opening up the cell walls, bringing in energy and all the supplies it needs to clean house and remove heavy toxins, the heavy metals drop out. But recently, we found research is released showing that when you resonate cells like water, just like resonating water, and you got to do it the same way, and they do on their clinical bed, but it came from the base technology from this home system, the PEMI. That's what everybody uses at home. When you're resonating cells and water droplets, heavy toxins are squeezed out of the cells by way of water. It's the water that actually grabs onto them when it's resonating that removes and releases heavy toxins, poisons, heavy metals, and that's substantiated now. So anyway, so the answer is yes, 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 and yes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times people can't remove toxins from their body because the cells are just not releasing them. The cells aren't working properly. The membranes aren't working properly. The charge isn't there. There's no energy. So the body just can't release this stuff and these waste products.
Too much positive in a cell versus negative, or the other way around. Too much negative and not enough positive. Those cell walls aren't going to work very well. They don't open and close properly. They don't stay open long enough. They don't stay closed long enough. This is the problem of technology today from all the EMF. Well, when you resonate cells like this, all of a sudden you have the exact balance in all these cells of positive and negative. They're just perfect. Now the cell walls can open and close on the proper timing, the proper length of time, the proper actual receptors. Some are large, some are small. Everything's clicking and working in balance. And here's a good ditty at the end. Wi-Fi, now let's go to 5G. 5G towers, all right? It's substantiated, the science is there, it's on the internet. Raindrops falling out of the sky have always come down round, always, for centuries, until we started to get 5G. It's so intense, there's so much going off from the towers. These are the big towers. And I would guess even the cell phone towers on 4G, but I'm not sure about that. The raindrops aren't round. They're distorted, they're twisted. When they grab the water coming off of that and analyze it, you set it up by freezing, right? They don't freeze they don't form the water molecules. They don't form beautiful hexagon shapes. They're all distorted. Same thing when you talk on a cell phone. The water molecules normally look like a beautiful snowflake. And they create like snowflakes as they freeze when they have the proper balance, ionic balance in the water molecule. Well, guess what we need? The proper ionic balance in the water molecules, which is most of our whole body, or water. When we have this, everything works almost effortlessly with zero energy required at the perfect point. It's zero resistance. That's what harmony means if you look it up. Yeah, and resonance.
Well, speaking of harmony, we've had a few people asking about the harmony pendant. I forget the exact questions here. So, does the harmony pendant still have protective benefits if one does not frequently harmonize? And also people are asking about, like, how do pendants help with EMF, and maybe how does that compare to a pure wave mat?
Yeah, let me explain that.
The difference there.
Yeah, because I actually helped out. I was floored by Robert Marking's product with his harmony pendant at one of these conferences.
Yeah, and I'm wearing one right here. If you guys are curious.
Yeah. In the mornings, I'll put mine on for an hour, almost every day, but not quite. But every day I do it. This buffers your bioenergy field. We really do get disrupted in the amount of energy that all of our cells put together are putting off energy and frequency, right? They're all working and they're emitting energy. We're buzzing. We're buzzing or resonating at a high frequency. All people do. Well, when you have an injury or a tear or you didn't sleep good, your biofield's off. When people attack you mentally and they're mad at you, or there's mean people, there are some, this hurts your biofield. When you get hit by EMF electronically and from high-tech electronics, it hurts your biofield. It actually disrupts it. But when you have rest and you have energized health from nutrients, food, doing the pure wave, energizing your body, you remain in a very, very high level of biofield. Not much affects you. I still like doing the harmony pendant, though. Every now and then, my wife, she drags me out all over the place. And we have late nights, and we could do a lot. We never used to be able to, but we can now.
Well, the pendant's great because it goes with you everywhere you go, and because it kind of tunes up your body's energy field, that helps your body deal with that stressor better than is EMF. It's not like shielding it. It's your body is better able to adapt to it.
Right.
Which is great.
And I showed, I helped Robert out. I said, hey, bring in some people if you want. We'll meet, and I'll measure them and see how their biofield is. I can actually measure any slight change in the high frequency range of Wi-Fi. As long as I put them near the Wi-Fi router and near like some high EMF source, we'll see if it drops a little bit. And that's what you expect. A little bit of a drop, like a buffer. You've actually smoothed out your biofield where you, there's machines that, show the energy coming out all over your body, but it's not enough substantiation for me. I like more. I like to really see numbers on the meter and how much EMF is remaining in the area, surrounded in the area. So I measured these people, just a handful of them, before and after doing the harmony pendant. And from what Robert says, doing it for 1 hour, wearing it for an hour, it'll smooth you out for the whole day and the evening generally. And that's kind of what I feel when I try it and when I use it. But it only does just a little. It would go from the red, bing, 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 bing on the Wi-Fi, on the meter. It was in the red. It would start pinging a little into the yellow and then slowly come down. And what that is, in my personal opinion or professional opinion even, is that when you smooth out your biofield, which is what the harmony pendant shows it does, you then, your cells actually increase their energy just a little bit all over, or in areas where maybe you were disrupted. And it's not necessarily a disease or a problem with the body. It's more what you're holding. And your thoughts actually help keep a smooth balance of energy and position and thought. So this pendant would actually bring it down and show that your energy and all of your cells working went up a little bit. And that's a great thing. It may not, have a lot of bodily changes go on because of it, but it's sure going to make your life a lot smoother and nicer. Isn't it nice to wake up in the morning, put this thing on, and feel, oh, I feel good today? Well, it really did help, and I proved it. And I say it again. We proved it by showing that the body created a little bit higher level of health and energy and smoothness and balance.
Yeah, and it's super simple. But so let's talk about the difference between the pendant and the pure wave mat. So what is the pure wave mat doing that the pendant doesn't?
Oh, yeah, they're not like each other at all in that respect.
Yeah.
The pure wave is actually putting all of your tissues and cells into a harmonic balance and turning on the ion pumps and charging up the energy in a direct and immediate way. And that's their patent. And there's no product I found out there that does that. And I guess they have a lot of patents on all this stuff.
Yeah.
Others just haven't even bothered to go down that road. These people really locked it up good.
Yeah.
And they accomplished a lot way back, so much that it became a political problem and was squashed in a number of countries around the world. And over the last 5 or 10 years, it's been coming out. It was overdue.
Yeah, and these technologies, I mean, anything that's kind of new, it really, in many countries, faces a lot of resistance from the mainstream medical community and from the regulatory agencies and whatever big business that is kind of entrenched in that country. Really can threaten that market or drug manufacturers or what have you, because that takes away business from them. So there's resistance for that reason. And so
yeah, it's a matter of money.
Yeah, but this is
they're used to running the medical end of a country and all its people in a certain style. Yeah. And that's hard to break when they've been doing it for a century.
But this is an FDA medically recognized device. This is an FDA registered device. So you guys have gone through all of that regulatory red tape.
Yeah, and they show that it's zero chance of harm to anybody. So they're like, health and wellness, great. Don't make any claims. It doesn't cure people. It doesn't fix this condition or that condition. It just removes the EMF from the body and surrounding fields, patent number 1. It causes the calcium cascade release from cells, patent number 3. But patent number 2, it charges up energy in cells for real. And then you can target small areas and charge them up even more. That's all it's doing. That's how I did this area. By the way, I had a lung test and a cardiac test this year, right before the holidays. And I have no more scars, no more spots on my lungs. My heart was in really good shape for the first time. Well, I hadn't had a good test in a good 10 years because of why bother? It was getting really bad and I didn't want to know anymore or see anymore. But it's my hearts repair themselves. Think of all the people who get heart attacks and strokes in the brain. Many people come back. There's so much blood and nutrients and supply and oxygen going through. If you're a strong person and strong-willed, your body's going to work like crazy and repair it. Well, we can target any areas to give it more energy and remove the EMF from the whole body for a whole day and let you stay relaxed. So remember I said, if you're in a bad car accident, you go right into parasympathetic. You're in trouble, right? What do you call it? It's you're in shock. And when you go in shock, you remain so deep in parasympathetic. Well, this pure wave, it's the system that puts you into parasympathetic. You can push relax at night or basis in the morning. But any of the low numbers, according to how the brain runs, it allows you to remain parasympathetic for 8 to 12 hours. And you're bright and you have energy, but for some reason, you're totally chilled and like zen. Yeah. And you're repairing all day. And when you do it every day, especially on an area that's a problem, every day your body will repair it a little more, a little more, and a little more. But you got to do it every day. Keep it, going ahead. Keep pushing it a little further ahead, and a little more, and a little more. That's how I did my chest. That's how my brains came back. I quit being a biomedical engineer because of my fibroid disease. Back by time I was in my 30s, and the reason was that the fibroids were in my brain, and I was having a really hard time concentrating, thinking, having memory, remembering, writing. I wrote worse than a doctor, and I never did that before. It wasn't a neurological problem. It was fibroids messing up and lowering the energy in all the different tissues and causing disruption. And I became, I needed something that was very simple. So I started a family business, just me. I was the only guy. I did the work. I made retractable awnings that were smart awnings that were pre-smartened with little computers and automatic wind sensors, and they would retract out and stay out. I did know how to develop them into heavy systems that could take it here in Florida with the heavy rains and downpours, the only one made for heavy rain. Every day I did that job, it was always 21 steps to build one and put it in, install it. And I did them all for years and years and years and years and years. And the reason was, it's like all of this and all of my knowledge and my education went out the window. I wasn't capable. But then after a while, I was having physical problems. I couldn't drill into the walls. I had the operations on the hands. Then I couldn't even stand on the ladder. It was a small family business. It was me, and never an employee. I'd have a helper to help bring stuff around the back of a house or a building and go put in awnings, retractable awnings that I would build. It was like a little simple erector sets. And when I met Tony, I was still doing that and going down. I was really getting to the end. And I even started making arrangements to get, my family set, that I may not be here, and I've got you squared away, and you, and this is the best I can do, and I just think I'm not going to be here. And then all of it changed, and within a month, my brain's turned back on. I could read a book. I mean, I couldn't even read through a book. I couldn't stay focused on anything. And I didn't do drugs, and I never did. I didn't do alcohol. I still don't. So none of that. Except for the anti-inflammatories and the painkillers.
You're desperate. I mean, anyone who has a pain syndrome is trying that in the beginning. And Carol's saying, he looks awesome. So then this helps with collagen, loose skin, and weight loss?
In my opinion, absolutely. I've never lifted heavy weights. I was always physically active, but, I was starting to get pretty soft and lumpy. And I've done nothing, but my skin's gotten better. My collagen fills in, even muscle tone and strength. It's there. And
fantastic. And so last question, Casey. So, or a couple of people are asking, will there be a replay? So any of the webinars we do, you will be emailed a replay, and we also have a webinar hub you can go to, but you'll be emailed that link where you can watch this webinar and all of our past webinars. And so we probably should wrap up. We've been at this over 2.5 hours. There was a lot, and we didn't even get to all the questions. I mean, I tried to ask the most, answer the most relevant ones to, the harmony, the Pure Wave mat, and, how it works and all that kind of stuff. And we, a lot of people are asking questions like, does this help with autoimmune disease? Does this help with cancer? Does this, we can't answer questions like that. But just generally, when those are a breakdown of the body's functioning, I think working with the body's energy field, working with getting rid of EMF naturally is going to improve its function, no matter what the breakdown is in physical function. So that's just the long and the short answer.
As a closing note, it's not bad for me to say this. I can do this. Just looking online, at studies, cancer cells are formed when a normal cell in any part of the body drops below 25 millivolts. It then starts spitting out this bioacid, a sticky film that fills up the receptors so it doesn't let the oxygen in. And once the oxygen is not coming in, it'll drop down to, around 18 millivolts, so low that now it's running completely anaerobic, which means it requires no oxygen, and yet it has figured out how to stay alive, because no other cell in the body can do that. Then, putting out the biofilm, it's putting it out around the surrounding area. It starts sticking and clogging up all the other tissues around it, the other cells, and they either perish or they become cancer cells also. It's like a loop program. It just runs and runs and runs. And there's different types of cancer, and different parts of the body are called different types of cancer also. But it's well known and substantiated, if you take any cancer cell, and I think it's any, and bring it back up over 25 millivolts, if you have a way to do that, they become normal again. So that's how cancer works.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, it just, it just never ceases to amaze me. Like, the more and more I learn about how the body works, it's not what we think. And it's not always about just, addressing like, I have thyroid issues, let's go fix the thyroid, or I have a digestive issue, let me take some pills for that. You have to go a layer deeper than that, getting to correcting the root cause functioning of how the body works, or addressing that, working with the body to improve how it's working, how it's been designed over millions of years to function. It's biohacking. That's what biohacking is. And so this is the basic foundational thing that we have to get back to combat our EMF environment that's only going to get more and more and more EMF rich, and harsher and harsher frequencies and stuff unleashed without any testing. And there's nothing that we can really do about that. Even people living out in the country that were, safe for a while, and now with these satellites going up, really, it's just
everywhere.
It's everywhere, no matter where you live,
all night.
Yeah. And so that's why tools like this are going to become more and ever more important to retain your health and youthfulness and sanity. Yeah. So James, thanks so much for coming on the show. We should probably wrap now. Sorry if we didn't get to everyone's questions. We did our best. It's just you've been here almost 3 hours. So I'm here doing these webinars. We have a couple more to go. We just did this kind of an immunity series. We wanted to help you guys, give you a lot of tools for improving your immunity, and for sure, EMF destroys immunity. And so I really think a pure wave mat is a great way to dramatically boost your body's ability to defend itself. So if you guys want to get one, you get $500 off, which I've never seen you guys do before. So there's a link up here. It's purewaveenergycenters.com/Wendy Myers. So if you guys go to that link, you get $500 off and learn more about a pure wave mat. So James, thanks so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks. And I guess I like to talk.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We that's what we're here for. We want to hear you talk.
I have energy. I just
and you have a lot of knowledge to share. So everyone,
happy to share.
Yes. So thank you so much, and everyone have a wonderful weekend. And I'll talk to you guys on Tuesday. We have a Facebook Live on Tuesday.
All right, great. Have a great one. Bye-bye.